Good morning.
Good morning.
Hi. One of the things that I find, I guess, always interesting, sometimes really useful, and often funny is the different names and vocabularies we humans give to things that seem to be sometimes really different, but it's often talking about the same things, and we just have really different ways of talking about stuff. So the excerpts I'm going to read today are just are offering food for thought about different ways that we think about things that are called ego or love. So yoga teacher Keith Artisan wrote in the Elephant Journal that he asked a room full of his yoga students, "How many of you love your ego mind?" The absence of hands was stunning. Only 2 of us in the room had our hands up. Why does the ego get such a bad rap? Why do people hate and denigrate the ego? How can a person be at peace within their own self when they're denigrating an aspect of who they are? Is there a time when anyone invalidated, dismissed, neglected, or insulted someone, and it created goodwill and improved life? The ego is not an enemy. It does not need this is I'm reading from Keith Artisan. The ego is not an enemy. It does not need to be controlled, dominated, forced, coerced, manipulated, or dismissed. Putting the ego down only makes the situation worse. It's an abusive relationship style, and dismissing the ego as evil or hating the mind only furthers the inner separation. Until a person knows who they are, there is no inner peace, and the ego is just one aspect of a whole human being. Respecting people as people and egos as egos is part of seeing and accepting the life light within ourselves and others. Being able to observe the mind, body sensations, breath, and heart pulse allows a person to relax with what arises in this moment, including egos. In a similar vein, the intuitive Tara Taylor writes, "I once believed that enlightenment was reached by ridding oneself of ego. Then, like a divine lightning bolt hitting me, I realized trying to rid yourself of ego is your ego's work." If the universe had created me with my ego intact, then there had to be a reason I had an ego. That reason is my ego allows me to fully experience my humanity here on this earth. I started to be thankful for my ego instead of fighting it, and I embraced what it had to say to me. I learned what my ego was fearful of, and instead of fleeing from it, I spoke to my ego with love and kindness. I thanked my ego for showing me what it was fearful of, because now I knew what I needed to accomplish in this life. Just as you would say to a child in a tantrum, you would say to your ego, "I love you. However, I do not love your behavior." I'm going to take 3 deep breaths and listen to the inner dialogue between my higher self and my ego, giving my ego the attention it is seeking. I do not choose to follow my ego's guidance, as it is never my truth. I am, however, allowing it to do what it was created to do, give me choice and challenge my infinite self. That is it. The ego was created to give choice and perspective. Our egos just want to be heard from within. The ego does not care if you follow its guidance. The ego just wants to be heard so that it has done its job, because your ego's role is to help you achieve greatness. Finally, a third, completely different kind of excerpt, now for something completely different, from John O'Donohue. When you decide to practice inner hospitality, the self-torment ceases. The abandoned, neglected, and negative selves come into a seamless unity. The soul is wise and subtle. It recognizes that unity fosters belonging. The soul adores unity. What you separate, the soul joins. Your soul is the priestess of memory, selecting, sifting, and ultimately gathering your vanishing days toward presence. This liturgy of remembrance, literally remembering, is always at work within you. The ocean is one of the delights for the human eye. The seashore is a theater of fluency. When the mind is entangled, it is soothing to walk by the seashore, to let the rhythm of the ocean inside you. The ocean disentangles the netted mind. Everything loosens and comes back to itself. The false divisions are relieved, released, and healed. Thank you.